Today, we're going to talk about an overview of our calling. Who are we? What do we do? What is the strategy behind how we're helping our homeless neighbors? And we're going to be talking to it with Carolyn, going in deep on how we help people walk with Jesus and get off these streets.
Who is Our Calling? What does Our Calling do to help the homeless?
The nonprofit.
We care with dignity.
Our Calling.
Can't help but think about the definition of Christian.
We connect with intentionality.
Called Our Calling.
It's to Our Calling.
We build community with integrity.
Our Calling.
This is Our Calling and our podcast, a word on the streets about homelessness. Today, we're going to be talking about our calling, just kind of an overview of what we do now, our departments, our structure, how that looks, our values, kind of vision statements, stuff like that. And again, I'm accompanied with my beautiful wife of 26 years, Carolyn. What do you do? What's your role here?
I am the Chief People Officer, and I love that title because I love people. So I am responsible for all the staff and also for all the volunteers, and then a little bit of IT.
Carolyn serves on our leadership team. She's our Chief People Officer. We also have a Chief Financial Officer and a Chief Advancement Officer. And then we have a Director of Operations and a Director of Programs. And we have about 60 staff members today. So let's start with our mission statement, right? And it's changed a few times over the years, but today, the current mission statement is?
Our calling is to glorify God by leading people to Christ and making disciples on the streets.
That's it. Pretty simple.
Yep.
We're here to glorify God by leading people to Christ and leading and making disciples on the streets.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that we are really interested in people's eternal addresses and then also their physical addresses.
Yep. We want to disciple people to get off the street, but also discipling our volunteers and people that want to know how to serve the homeless community. I mean, we're not teaching Bible study methods to homeless friends because we want them to be in a safe environment where they can do that long term. So we connect them with long-term options for that. Some that are faith-based, some that are secular-based, just steps to get them off the streets. But a lot of our discipling, making disciples on the streets is really teaching people how to love their neighbors well.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of churches, hundreds of churches. We have how many volunteers a year?
In 2023, we had a little over 3,000 unique volunteers come through our doors.
And we get to sit with each one of them in a orientation, and then as they serve with us, learning here's how we do what we do.
Yeah.
We have no secret sauce.
Yep.
If this secret sauce is anything, we say it's relationships.
Yeah.
Relationship with the Lord himself, relationships with his people. We want to have these intimate relationships, the horizontal, so people can work on the vertical, really to love our neighbor well.
Yeah.
To love our neighbor as ourselves. So we say that we kind of break up what we do into these 3 C's, letter C. And we teach this to our staff. We rehearse it regularly with our staff. Your team, Carolyn, does onboarding for new staff members, but even ongoing with training, we talk about these 3 C's. And this kind of impacts every department here at Our Calling. What are the 3 C's?
Yeah. It's something that I when I'm talking with new employees, or if when Melody, who is responsible for volunteers, when she's talking to any volunteer coming in for orientation, it's the way we live. It's the way we talk to people. It's more than just like we need to do. It's not check boxes that we check off each day. It's something that just becomes a part of our nature. And so caring with dignity is the first one. And the way I like to describe that is the way I'm talking to you right now is how I'm going to talk to anybody. If it's one of our homeless friends, if it's a volunteer, if it's a donor, if it's one of my kids, if it's one of my friends, everybody I want to treat the exact same way because they are made in the image of God. And I want to extend the honor and respect that is due to them because they are made in the image of God. And so that's what we lead with, is that we are going to care with dignity.
And one of the ways that we measure that is with the phrase, would your mom?
Yeah.
Now, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, but most people don't really take care of themselves like they should. They don't go to the doctor like they should, don't eat like they should. So we asked the question, would your mom? Would your mom want to be talked to that way?
Mm-hmm.
Would your mom eat that? Would your mom call that clean?
Mm-hmm.
Would your mom wear that? If
Yeah.
not, we're going to start over.
Yeah.
And we hold each other accountable to that, caring with dignity. That means we're going to go where they are. Showing dignity, we're going to show respect to people when we enter their camp. This is their living room. We're not going to barge in there, right? We're going to treat people with kindness. We're going to speak to them with gentle voices. Even our security as they're de-escalating, right? How can they care for people with dignity in that moment?
They're very pastoral.
But those three, the care with dignity, we'll just start there. That doesn't just impact the way we care for people experiencing homelessness. It also impacts the way we care for volunteers and our staff and our donors and our partners. How does it apply to those other groups of people?
For me personally, it's a measure for myself of, am I considering the person I'm talking to, for lack of a better word, higher or lower than me? And we're all on level ground. And I want the person with me to know that I care about them, that I think that they're important, that I think what they have to say and the life that they live is important and has value. And so it's just a way of approaching people with curiosity and with tremendous amounts of respect. And with volunteers, it's kindness, it's gentleness, it's patience, it's acknowledging that they're stepping into a world that is very normal and familiar to me, but it's often their first exposure to some things. And so it's being gentle and being, like, hey, you doing okay? Do you have any questions about anything that you've seen or experienced today? And just giving them the space to be human and to say, I don't understand something that happened, or I never knew I would have so much fun. You guys laugh a lot here at OurCalling. Tell me why you guys laugh a lot. Like, well, because it's fun. We have a great place to work. But that is kind of how I see that with volunteers. And then with donors, I want to invite them into this place. If I'm having a conversation with someone, I am interested in them. I'm not interested in their money. I'm interested in them because they are a person made in the image of God. I have a lot of curiosity about their life, and I have a lot of respect for them as a person because they're made in the image of God. What they decide to do with their money is up to them.
It's their business.
But it's not the reason why I am interested in them.
Yeah, I'll have a lunch with a donor or be meeting with someone that's really interested in what we're doing from a financial perspective. They want to be investing the work here. And I'll sometimes recognize that they're going through crisis themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And, let's put that other conversation off and maybe even forget it altogether. How can we care for you?
Yeah.
What's going on with you? How do we love you, care for you, support you and your family and the crisis you're going through?
Yeah.
How do we care for them with dignity? It also applies to how we care for our staff with dignity. They are exposed to severe trauma.
They are. Yeah.
And we don't want them to do anything that we wouldn't do ourselves. Right? The trash in the parking lot is as much my responsibility as it is everybody else's.
Yeah.
So we want to care with dignity for our staff. So part of that is our care plan. We have 2 staff chaplains. And what are their roles?
Yes, we have 2 people on staff, and their primary role is to care for their coworkers. So yes, they are chaplains, but their focus is OurCalling staff. And the way we have it set up where it's anonymous, and the staff chaplains report to me. They do not report back to me. I'm interested in the number of sessions they have a week, and that's where it stops.
Not who they meet with.
I have no desire to know.
No
I
clue.
want that to be something that is between them and their coworkers. And we created some separate spaces within our building where they can have those private conversations. And even the way they set up their appointments is outside of our work calendar system. It's a separate system so that it's private and anonymous. And that just creates, we want our staff to know that we acknowledge that we've invited them in to some hard things. And we also want them to know that we have no expectation of them to just keep going. Like, there are some times that we have to stop and acknowledge, okay, today was kind of hard. That conversation was hard. And I probably need to go and have a session with Ned or with Wanda.
Or take a mental health
Or
day.
take a mental health
Yeah.
day. We're very generous with our PTO. And we have another space in our building that I call it the prayer closet. I'm not really sure what the official name is, but it is a small room and it has a very comfortable chair and an ottoman. You can turn the lights off. It's quiet and it's peaceful and it's soft. And it's just a place where you can shut off the noise, you can reset, and then spend some time with the Lord and then come back out. And it's, a lot of people think of limitations as a negative thing. And I think that limitations are a beautiful gift. Now, it's taken me 47 years to realize that. This has just been a recent thing I've learned and discovered. And I celebrate the fact that I have limitations. I am so glad that I do not operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Me too.
I'm thankful that there is a sunset and I get sleepy at night and I go to sleep. I'm thankful that I can only handle so much before I need to step away.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see that in myself and I can encourage that in my coworkers to say, like, there is no expectation on you to keep running. If you need to take a day off, do not feel guilty about that. And rest is just as important as work.
And we've learned this the hard way.
We have learned that the hard way.
We have burned and crashed hard. We've watched other people burn and crash hard here and other places.
Yeah.
When we have employees that are working too many hours, even if they're full-time, look, obviously, I'm full-time. I work more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
But if it gets to be excessive, we're going to tell them, hey, you need to pause.
Yeah.
You need a break. Even when we do inclement weather, in which we're all working overtime, we still put a limit on how many hours people can work, because the crisis that they often deal with may have nothing to do with work.
Right.
They may be going through a crisis at home, and we want to care with them. And that part of that staff chaplain's roles are to care for them even when they're not at work and they're dealing with family crisis as well.
Yeah.
The second C is connect with intentionality. And, the way we kind of package this is we're not here just to hang out.
Right.
And high five. Someone living on the street, their life is not incomplete because they don't have a friend in a green shirt.
Yep.
But we want to be intentional in how we care for them. We're not there just to walk with them.
Yeah.
We're there to walk with them off the street.
Yes.
We're there to walk with them into healthy community. We're here to walk with them into a relationship where we invite them to be connected to people. So how does connecting with intentionality work?
Well, it kind of sets the tone for everything that we do. So if I'm just going through the motions of getting here at 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 5 p.m. and just going through my day and never thinking about, why am I doing this? What is my end game with this? What is my ultimate goal? And at OurCalling, I want to see people walking with Jesus and getting off the streets. And so everything has intention built in behind it. If we're going to do something, it means that we have spent a lot of time. Why do we want to do this? What is the ultimate goal? How is this going to get people closer to the Lord and off the streets? And so, some of the intentionality is we serve really, really good food. We have an amazing chef. And it invites people into our facility so that we can have those conversations with them. And when someone is experiencing homelessness, I like to say they hear no a lot. A person who is experiencing homelessness hears no. No one answers the phone. They hear, we can't do that. You can't do that. That's not how it works. You can't stay here. You got wrong information. They hear no a lot. And OurCalling, we like to say yes as much as we can. And so the intention behind that is we want to build hope that there is more, that you're not stuck here. You don't have to stay stuck here. You can start to believe that there's something better on the other side. And so one of the ways that we say yes to our homeless friends is by bringing in, looking at all of the needs. What are the ways that our homeless friends are hindered and stopped from getting the things that they desperately need? And so we invite those partners in who do those things. So someone who doesn't have a car might possibly have a physical disability and can't walk all over Dallas and can't afford a bus ticket, we bring everything to us.
Okay, we'll pause. We'll come up with a list of what we do in
Sure.
each one of these 3 C's in a minute.
Mhm.
But how does connecting with intentionality apply to like donors and volunteers and staff as well? Because these 3 C's we apply to all these
Oh, okay.
groups.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connecting with intentionality is, again, kind of like with caring with dignity. The relationships that we have with one another are intentional, and that we realize that we have to work together. We can't do this massive undertaking on our own. It has to be together and it has to be collaborative. And there has to be, what is our intention? We're all on the same page of helping people walk with Jesus and get off the streets.
And we want to be intentional with our donors.
Hmm.
Like we want them to feel connected.
Yeah.
And so we want to be
Part of
able
it.
to share with them stories, the good stories that are happy
Hmm.
and the sad stories that
Mhm.
makes you cry.
Yeah.
You know, we intentionally want to send them thank you
Mhm.
notes when they give us a gift. We want to be
Hmm.
invite them to come and tour and see and participate in what we're
Yeah.
doing to see how we're using the gifts they're giving.
Yeah.
We want to be very intentional in how we, take care of our staff with
Hmm.
training and, regular
Hmm.
process groups and all that kind of stuff, and intentional with volunteers.
Yeah.
And when they come here on the first day,
Hmm.
they're going to learn a lot about what we
Hmm.
do. And for some people, they're going to learn this is not the place for me.
Right.
Or they're going to learn, you know what, I want to be a part of this thing.
Yeah.
But we're going to be super, super intentional in how we address that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And even training our volunteers how to serve in such a way, and then even caring for them as well. Yeah. After they've worked here and seen some things, just following up, being intentional with that.
The last C is community of integrity.
Mm.
Our goal is not to get people off the streets. Our goal is to see them in healthy community.
Hmm.
Every single person that's experiencing homelessness has been in a home.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in our parking lot or we meet on the streets has been in a home. It didn't work.
Hmm.
Housing is essential. It is necessary, absolutely essential. But housing alone will never fix the problem
Yeah.
that we see. They need healthy community. I mean, if you
Mhm.
put someone in housing in a terrible environment,
Hmm.
in a crime-infested place where there's abuse and all kinds of
Yeah.
chaos going on, you've not really helped the
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
right? You've relocated them. But we want them to be in a healthy community. So here, when people come, we want them to feel cared for. We want this to be a safe space. We
Mhm.
want this place to be a place of peace. Our security and the smells in the building and the sounds that you hear, we want it to be
Hmm.
to feel like this is a place where you are loved.
Yeah.
And even when we get someone off the streets, we want them to get into a safe, healthy, long-term solution. So even
Hmm.
for some people, that means permanent supportive housing
Yeah.
if it provides the level of care services they need. For some people, the community of integrity is a rehab, a detox, a sober living community, a Christian discipleship program if they want it,
Yeah.
We work with sex trafficking victims. We want them to be in a healthy community. Putting a
Mhm.
trafficking victim in an apartment in South Dallas would not be so healthy.
Yeah.
Putting him in a shelter would not be healthy.
Hmm.
Getting them into a safe space that has the psychotherapeutic recovery programs that they need
Hmm.
to really help them on a long-term, trajectory
Yeah.
with exit plans for long-term sustainability, that's a healthy community.
Yeah.
And for us, the focus is not on the quick fix.
Hmm.
In fact, when we get people off the streets, we often will track them for a year
Yeah.
to try to see, is it working,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But that community of integrity also applies to our other groups. Again, these 3 C's apply to all those groups. So we want to be a community of integrity with our staff.
Yeah. Hold each other accountable.
Yep.
Hmm.
We want to be able to have hard conversations.
Yeah.
And
Necessary.
be transparent
Yeah.
and have a safe place where we can learn how to get along and
Yeah.
have that integrity in the way we serve each other. We want to be a community of integrity with our donors.
Hmm.
We do an
Yeah.
annual audit and
Yep.
our books are wide open. Our
Yep.
stuff is on the,
Yep.
990s up on all the websites
Mhm.
because we want to be a place of integrity
Hmm.
and we want to be able to prove that, we can be held accountable to every dime
Mhm.
and every volunteer and every
Yeah.
hour and every
Mhm.
guest that
Yeah.
comes in here.
It's something that we steward, that we realize that none of this is anything we own. It's what the Lord has given us to steward. And that's not just money, it's people and relationships. And are we stewarding those things well? And it's done best in a community of integrity.
So I'm going to start over with those 3 C's, and we're going to give you examples of how this applies specifically to our neighbors, our homeless friends, right? And there's very specific areas that fit into this under care with dignity and connect with intentionality and a community of integrity. And so we'll go through some specifics there. But when we talk about care with dignity, what are some very specific, like real touchy-feely things that people will experience here?
Yeah. Today is Friday, May 10th, and Sunday is going to be Mother's Day. And so a very present example is in the Women's Center today. They hosted a Mother's Day event for all of the women. And it's a way to honor the ones who are mothers. All of them have mothers. And just to acknowledge the good, the bad, the messy. And it, instead of trying to smooth things over or pretend like it doesn't exist or any of that, it's just acknowledging, like, hey, this Sunday is Mother's Day. We want to honor you. We want to celebrate you. We want to talk about your mom. We want to talk about your kids, and allowing them to talk about things that there isn't any other safe place to talk about those. And it was really beautiful. I stuck my head in there this morning and got to see some really sweet things going on in there. Another very tangible way is just the way we talk to one another, the expectation that we have of this being a place of peace. And so we talk to one another with kindness. Even if you're frustrated, we're going to talk at this level. And our homeless friends know that and appreciate it. And they know that when they come into our calling, how they're going to be treated and how, I mean, I'll even hear someone say, hey, you can't talk like that in here. Like, this is our calling. And, they hold each other accountable to this expectation of this is a place of peace and a place of honesty.
And sometimes we screw up.
Yep.
Sometimes we get mad. And
Yep. We are human.
We'll yell, right? But we want to
Yeah.
hold each other accountable
We hold
to
each
that.
other accountable to that.
And go back and own it. Own what you did
Yeah.
and show some
Yep.
apology and go back.
Yeah.
And we've had
Yeah.
lots of staff members who've had to go back and apologize to a neighbor because
Yeah.
we weren't really treating
didn't-
them with dignity. Other
mean,
ways we
yeah.
care for people with dignity is like the way we serve food.
Yes.
So our chef is culinary trained at the Cordon Bleu. He is amazing. But
Yes.
one of the ways we serve food is, we don't have just a traditional lunch line. Go get a plate of food and you're done.
Yeah.
We have a lunch time. So when we eat meals at a restaurant, they never tell us, okay, that's enough. You need to leave.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to provide that same experience where if you want to go through the line again
Yep.
and again and again and
Yeah.
again, that's fine. We want everybody to go through to make sure everybody eats and then everybody can go through
Yeah.
again. We're going to keep serving until we run out of food.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't use styrofoam because, again, dignity, that's not really good for the environment. So you have to eat your meals here.
Sure.
But if you want to go through the meal 5 times or 7 times, that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we will serve good food.
Yes.
We serve really good food.
Yep.
We serve brisket, we serve ribs, we serve steak, we serve
Fried catfish.
Thai food, we
Yep.
serve,
Curry.
yes, shawarma. I mean,
Yes.
it's amazing, the food
Yeah.
we serve here,
Yeah.
to be able to care for people with dignity. Showers,
Mm-hmm.
laundry, we'll do
Yeah.
laundry for you.
And even the showers is very dignified because it's like a hotel bathroom. It's not like a locker room, and it's a nice space. And a person gets to go in there for 15 or 20 minutes and be alone in privacy.
Lock the door.
Lock the door.
Be by themselves.
Be by themselves. Yes.
Hot water, Holy Spirit moment. You have a toilet, a shower,
Yep.
a sink, all by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And some people need more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Some people need assistance getting on and
Yes.
off
Yeah.
of the seat that's built into the shower,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
and some people are in a wheelchair, and with dignity, our staff will
Mhm.
go in there and care for them,
Yeah.
even in kind of the grossest environments,
Mhm.
because we want to care for people
Yeah.
with dignity, the way we would want to
Mhm.
be cared for, the way we would want our
Mhm.
mom to be cared for.
Yeah.
Clothes, we give out
Mhm.
now almost
Almost
3,000 clothing items
Yeah.
a week. So
Mhm.
someone will come in and ask for shoes, and we'll look them up and say, hey, Bob, you got shoes last week, bro. You're going to have to wait a few more weeks.
Yeah.
Everything has accountability. Everything is tied to a person. We can track a ton of data.
Yeah.
But even without that accountability, we'll give out 3,000 clothing items this week.
Mm-hmm.
And we will only give you clothes that are clean,
Yes.
that don't have holes in them,
Mm-hmm.
that are things that we or our mom
Mhm.
would wear.
Yeah.
If it's not, we won't give it
Yeah.
out, right? People donate nasty stuff to us all the time that we toss or
Yeah.
send to a thrift store. Underwear is going to be clean. It's going to be brand new underwear.
Brand new
Yeah,
underwear.
we're not using skid
Brand new
marks.
socks.
No,
Yes.
no. Brand new socks, no holes in them, right? Shoes, gently
Yeah.
used shoes, because we run out of shoes. But we want to make sure people have dignity in the way that they're fed, cared for. We have high-speed Wi-Fi. We have phone chargers here. We have phones they can use. You know, we want to provide a safe place with dignity. And that means we're open late when it gets hot and when it gets cold, because it's not dignified to make people have to go back outside.
And it's even thought of when even the digital signage that we have and the announcements that we make, or the different slides that we have on the different screens around our campus. It's acknowledging that a lot of our folks have poor vision. And so we make sure the font is as big as possible, that it's as simple and easy to read. And we think of what is the information that they need. And this is, I'm kind of bleeding into the connecting with intentionality, but making sure that they know what's happening. I know with our emergency broadcasts that we have. And then
that's where we can send a message out to now about 8,000 to 10,000 people, you know, hey, it's going to be cold. Here's the inclement weather place open.
Here's where to go. Here's the address of where to go.
And the digital signage, I love it. It shows who's next to get in the shower, who's next to get in the laundry.
Yeah. And it's hard to wait when you don't know why you're waiting. And so when someone's waiting for a shower or waiting for their laundry, they know they can see on the display that, okay, I'm third. All right, I can do that. I can wait. And then they can see how they're moving up in line.
We have dog park areas for people to bring their
Bring
pets
their
out
pets.
here,
Yep.
right? And bring your grocery cart, the car you're living in. We want people to have dignity when they come here.
Yeah.
But also dignity that they show to each other, right? We will not allow people to speak cruelly to each other.
Yeah.
Not here. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then we want to talk about connecting with intentionality. You were talking about partners, because on the digital signage, it says, here's who's coming what day.
Yeah. And here's who is in our building today.
We have about 12 to 15 partners that we have separate rooms that they can schedule to use. And what kind of services are available here?
So we kind of drew a circle around what we do, and then recognized that our homeless friends, there are barriers to a lot of things. And so how can we break down those barriers? And with transportation being such a big barrier, we started inviting different partners into our facility. So it can be someone from the North Texas Food Bank that is helping people get set up with SNAP and with their food stamps. If it's, we recognize that people have acute care, like medical care, they've got a bad blister on their foot or something that needs to be treated right then. We partner with Watermark Health, and they bring their mobile unit into our parking lot
Their
once a
doctors
week.
doing work here.
Yes. And, people know they come here every Thursday, and they just know that this is, if I need to have something looked at or treated, that's when I do it. It's also difficult to get to the doctor when you're homeless. And so partnering with Parkland and also with the VA's medical clinic as well, they can schedule their appointments with their primary care physician and
meet them and get their prescriptions refilled and all that stuff.
Yeah. And it's all in one location. And it's part of how we can say yes to people. Like, yes, you can see a doctor. Yes, you can see a mental health provider. Yes, you can get set up with food stamps. Yes, there is someone to talk to you about your Social Security benefits. And just being able to, when you hear no so much, and then someone starts saying, yes, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, you can do that. It's I like to call it a hope builder. It's like, oh, I can do that. This is possible. So that's a very fun way that we get to connect with intentionality, is by saying yes to our homeless friends with the different needs that they have.
So beyond those, I'm going to read off the list of some of the partners that we have here.
Sure.
I'm looking it up. We track all this in real time. So the City of Dallas office is here.
Yep. Help people with their tickets.
We have a group called The Haven, which helps people with long-term recovery. We have 2 different mental health care providers. We have pharmaceutical services here. We have AIDS and STI testing, right? We have Recovery Resource Council here, Salvation Army, the VA, Watermark Health, and then there's more. For some reason, they're not all fitting on my screen, but we have so many partners that provide services. And some of the services that people want to provide, we evaluate them and say, that's not a good fit.
Right.
for
Yeah.
our population. It's not
Mhm.
really intentional in caring for their
Mhm.
needs in a way that they can
Yeah.
access. And so we tell some groups no, but
Mhm.
we have rehabs that'll come here and detoxes that'll come here and interview people. We have, trauma counselors for sexual assault survivors that
Mhm.
come here, all kinds of different groups, all connecting with intentionality,
Mhm.
just like our little green book is
Right.
designed to
Yeah.
connect people, just
Mhm.
like the app is designed to connect
Mhm.
people. And we want to connect people horizontally to the services they need,
Mhm.
but ultimately we also want to connect them vertically to the Lord
Yeah.
himself and the body of
Mhm.
Christ, because we think that's super important. So
Mhm.
we have a church service here,
Every Wednesday.
we have Bible studies here,
Mhm.
but that actually falls under the last C, which
Yeah.
is community of integrity.
Yeah.
Again, we're
Mhm.
not here just to hang out.
Right.
We want to have a healthy community here. And so, what are some areas under community of integrity
Mhm.
that allow us to care for our neighbors?
Mhm. You mentioned a church service, and it is beautiful. And I invite anybody listening or watching this podcast to come on a Wednesday morning and just experience that time.
8:30.
8:30 on Wednesdays. Yes.
And now, why do we do it on Wednesday mornings? Why aren't we doing it on Sunday mornings?
Because Wednesday, it's when our homeless friends are here.
Exactly. On the
Yeah.
weekends, they have told us that on the
Mhm.
weekends, it kind of feels like a petting zoo at a lot of churches that are going around
Yeah,
and
that's
safari of
true.
poverty.
Yeah.
And so they've asked us to do it on a different
Mhm.
day years
Mhm.
ago. Again, trying to be dignified and care
Mhm.
with them in ways that make sense to them.
Yeah.
So we do it on a Wednesday morning.
Mhm.
And they can come in, and the pastors are people that work with them every
Yes.
day. We don't do
Yes.
guest pastors.
That's right.
It's worship in a cultural context that they love,
Mhm.
right? And it's trying to care for individuals in a way where they can understand God's word
Mhm.
and inviting them to come. Everybody, you don't have to
Yep.
come.
It's not required.
You
Mhm.
can still have access to every service here,
Yep.
but we do have a church service available.
Mhm.
And I always get asked, well, how do you get people to come to a church service? Well, you learn how to
You
preach
learn how to preach.
where they like it, right? If they're not showing up, they vote with their feet, right? So
Yeah.
people will come, people will worship, people will get an
Mhm.
experience to learn
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
about God
Yeah.
in a safe and healthy environment, and then
Mhm.
ask questions afterwards.
Mhm.
We have Bible studies, recovery
Recovery
classes,
classes. Yeah.
but ultimately, uh, going back to one of the reasons why we're here, one of the two
Mhm.
questions
Mhm.
is we want to help people off the street.
Yeah.
And that community of integrity is
Mhm.
really where we want to see people
Mhm.
live long term.
Yeah.
And there's a group of people that we can't get off the streets.
Yes. Yeah. And the more that we work so hard and diligently with those two questions of will you trust the Lord and can we help you get off the streets? And we began to realize that and we've done a ton of research. I mean, I know we're over 700 different exit strategies now all over the United States. And so it's not like we're just looking in the city of Dallas or only in Dallas County. We've looked all over the United States. And you're right, there is a section,
A
a piece, a
subset of the
subset
community.
of our homeless friends and the people that we serve that we're not able to place. And
And
it's been heartbreaking.
and who is it and why?
It's our friends that cannot take care of themselves on a daily basis. It's the medical term is they can't manage their activities of daily living, or they're dying.
Yeah.
And most of the places that we partner with and that we work with, people have to be able to take care of themselves in order to step into those programs. And that's not a bad thing. Like, I want to make sure people understand that we're not saying that people should be doing this. They are meeting a tremendous need in the areas where they are serving. And we still have these individuals who are experiencing homelessness that have physical and mental challenges and who should be in hospice care that we cannot find a place that will take them.
Supported independent living, assisted living, and
Mhm,
even in-home
and
hospice care.
yeah,
We're big fans of permanent supportive housing
we are.
and rapid rehousing
Mhm.
for some people,
Yeah,
but it's not this fit for everybody.
yeah.
Permanent supportive housing, to me, I get frustrated when a case manager who's caring for people in permanent supportive housing
Mhm.
is expected to be a miracle worker.
Yeah,
They're expected to
yeah.
take care of all these wraparound support services that don't deliver.
Right.
And so that person has got to figure out, how do I get to a doctor
Mhm.
on a regular basis? How
Mhm.
to get my prescription filled? How do I get food
Yes.
on a regular
Mhm.
basis, right? All those care components are scattered across the city,
Yeah.
not in the housing unit
Right.
itself.
Yeah.
So in order to care for this group of people, we are creating our community,
Mhm.
which is a tiny home community that will have all those services
Yeah.
on site, specifically for those individuals in that high needs
Yeah.
community,
Mhm.
those individuals that need long-term care. So
Yeah.
full-scale medical clinic on site with a cafeteria
Mhm.
and a grocery
Yeah.
store and mental
Yeah.
health care. And
Mhm.
again, all those 15 partners that we
Mhm.
work with
Yeah.
there as well, in addition to what
Yeah.
we're doing here, but
Mhm.
specifically for those residents,
Mhm.
long-term care
Yeah.
residents, again, because we want to help people walk with
Walk with
Jesus
Jesus
and get
and
off the
get off the
streets.
streets.
And get off the streets is really in a healthy community,
Mhm.
right? Community
Yeah.
of integrity.
Yeah.
And we cannot sleep with the lack of integrity of not having an option.
Yeah.
When we serve in inclement weather, right? We step in and we're
Yes.
flexible. We're not a shelter, so we can step in and run
Yeah.
that with some of our partners, collaborating with agencies around the city.
Mhm.
And we recognize that we have this group of people with high needs that
Mhm.
cannot care
And
for
it
themselves.
grows every year.
People with walkers,
Mhm.
people in wheelchairs.
Amputees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what's so sad is at the end of that, their wheelchair kind of gets pushed to the corner and
Yep.
there's not many options. I mean, our shelter
It's
partners
really
take in
hard.
who they can,
Yeah.
but there's so
Yeah.
many and the needs are so
Yeah.
vast and expansive beyond
Mhm.
that we've recognized with our partners that
Mhm.
this is a bottleneck.
Yeah.
There is a substantial number of these individuals who have high
Mm.
long-term needs at every agency,
Yeah.
and they're all stuck. Like, what do we do
What
with
do we
them?
do?
Parkland,
Yeah.
Baylor,
Mhm.
shelters around
Mhm.
town, they have these individuals without really good
Mhm.
solutions. And so after 6 years of research, we're just having to build it because
Mhm.
it's just part of who we are in
Yeah.
caring, connecting, and building
Mhm.
community.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we're excited about it.
We're very excited. We're ready.
We're ready. So those are the 3 C's. We have all kinds of other value statements for our staff that we use to kind of evaluate who they are and what they do. Um, but I wanted to touch on a topic that I get asked all the time from donors, and I should get this asked much more frequently and don't. But the question is, and I'm going to ask you, and then we'll talk about it, is
Okay.
what's a measure of success?
A
How do we
measure of
measure
success.
success here?
When I think of our care ministers, I'm assuming that's what people are asking.
And those are the frontline people that are
Yes.
asking those questions, working in
Yes. Mhm.
relationships, kind of like a case manager
Case
and a
manager /
chaplain had a
chaplain.
baby,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. What I preach and say over and over again is that the definition of success for our care ministers, for those staff members, is not somebody else's answer to questions. So my success or their success is not dependent on whether or not somebody places their faith in Christ, whether or not somebody says, I want to get off these streets. Because it's unfair to try and measure success over something that you have no control over.
It's not my responsibility.
Yes,
It's
somebody
it's
else's
in their
decision.
boundary.
Yeah, that's right. It's their decision. And so the success is, am I asking those questions? Am I getting better at understanding the individual that I'm talking with? Am I learning a little bit more about, like, one of the things that we've been learning as a staff is the effects of PTSD on our homeless friends, and how anybody who is experiencing chronic homelessness, they have PTSD. And so learning how to talk to somebody, how to interact with somebody, and getting better at the things that we can control. I can control my tone. I can control my mannerisms. I've learned not to sneak up on anybody or surprise somebody, and to make sure my voice is gentle and soft. And because there's just this constant anxiety with living on the streets, which totally understandable.
Mhm.
And so training in those ways. And how can we get better at asking those questions? How can I better understand the human condition and the life that my homeless brothers and sisters experience? how can I understand that better? How can I become a student of the people that I'm working with? And that is the way that I measure success with our care ministers, and the way I want them to measure success for themselves. I want them at the end of the day, instead of being disappointed in other people's decisions of yes or no, excited or disappointed about somebody else's yes or no, to just, today was a good day because I had conversations with people. I talked to people about the Lord. I talked to them about options of better choices and how the future doesn't have to be so scary and how they can trust the Lord. And
So I just to summarize, when we say, will you trust the Lord? Will you let us help you off the streets? One way we measure success is, are people trusting the Lord and are people getting off the streets? But we also recognize that we can't force,
no,
we can't coerce, we're not baiting, and we're not responsible
right
for people
for somebody else's decision.
Yes. And again, the faith-based component of what we do, we don't require that for anybody. We're extremely inclusive in who we serve and exclusive in what we believe.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to say we do what we do.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're faith-based. We talk about Jesus all the time. We also want to see fruit. We want to see people coming to know the Lord. And so how can we learn how to communicate in ways that are clear and contextual and getting people off the streets? Can we find the best solution for you, which, you may be a square peg and that's a round hole. And so how do we find a program that fits your specific needs? We have some people we've tried to get off the streets for years and no one will take them because of significant challenges, cognitively, dual diagnosis or, dissociative identity disorder or physical disabilities or, whatever. Yeah. And so we want to track, are people getting off the streets and do people come to know the Lord? The faith component, we can measure that and see so much spiritual fruit. But one of the ways we see that is, will people choose to make a decision to walk with Jesus? And part of that decision is, obviously it's not salvific in its connections, but will they make that step to enter into a healthy place? Will they get away from the crime around them? Will they get out of a dangerous situation? Do they recognize they have value and God has a plan for them and we want them to see them valued and cared for off the streets? So last year, we did 1,359 placements. That's where we placed someone off the streets. And some of those are the same person a couple times, because intentionally, like when you were working with a sex trafficking victim, we have to place her in multiple places to get to the end.
Yeah.
We need an emergency place right now for her.
Yeah.
Well, the best sex trafficking places that we work with are not close and they're not fast.
Yeah.
It may take a week, it may take 2 weeks to get her through that interview process. We may have to try 5 different places before we have one with an available bed that fits that. So we will place her in an emergency safe location, undisclosed, that we've had to figure out, and then later place her in, we may place someone in a shelter temporarily as while
we're working on
getting their disability so they can get into housing. I did some math this year so far, and wherever people are in the year when they listen to this, the numbers will be irrelevant. But here's some math that is relevant. If you look at how many hours we're open, we're not a 24-hour day shop. We're only open 6 days a week. But if you look at how many hours we're open, we meet a new person, brand new to us, just brand new experiencing homelessness. We meet a new person every 41 minutes.
Wow.
Last week was 98 new people.
Wow.
The week before that was 83 new people. We meet someone brand new experiencing homelessness every 41 minutes.
Wow.
We place someone every 116 minutes. So a little less than 2 hours, right? So about every 2 hours, we get somebody off the streets into that next step, which could be a group home, which will be good for them for the rest of their life. It could be permanent supportive housing through, the coordinated access system through one of our partners. So we put someone in a shelter through HMIS. They get through coordinated access system. We don't do that. They do that. They do it really, really well. We don't want to, they do that. We don't need to replicate that service. Sometimes we get people into rehab or detox or one of those psychotherapeutic recovery programs. But every 116 minutes, helping someone exit homelessness is great. but there's so much more work to do.
Yeah.
There's so many more people experiencing homelessness brand new every single
Yes.
day
Yeah.
that we have to figure out how to find
Yeah.
better long-term solutions that help people not only get off the streets, but stay off the streets.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another way too that we do that is filling out an application for something can sometimes be, especially for women who have to retell if it's a domestic violence situation or a sexual assault situation, they have to retell that story so many times in the application process. And so one of the things that our team has started doing, and again, this kind of bleeds into that connecting with intentionality
And trauma-informed
and
care.
trauma-informed care and all of that is coming alongside them, creating a separate space in our building that's quiet where they can do the incredibly long application process and do those phone calls in a place where it's private and dignified, where they can cry if they need to, if they yell if they need to, whatever they need to do, but just to help them. Like, look, we want to help you through this intake process. We know that it is hard. We know that sometimes it can be complicated. We are here to walk beside you. And as part of that community of integrity, you're not going to do this alone. We are here to walk with you. You're the one that's taking these bold steps for yourself, but we are here beside you and cheering you on.
We do that for families too. We have a separate family room here in a super high secure area. So we have our downstairs cafe is open to anybody, but upstairs we have an isolated area for women only because obviously most women that I know need a break from the men in their lives. And so it's a safe place. It has lockdown procedures. It's really cool.
And it's peaceful and it's beautiful.
Unfortunately, we have to use some of those lockdown things because we have victims of trafficking and domestic violence that come in every day. We're zero barrier, so you don't have to give an ID. We're not going to check your pockets. You're welcome here. And therefore, they can come in and then start to work with a team on exit plan. If that's even escaping from a guy that is in our parking lot, right? Or a trafficker that dropped her off here to get her shower, or he's meeting her from another city, to put her on Backpage or something, which we, work with all the law enforcement groups on that.
Yeah.
But we also have this family room that's really isolated, separate, because we have families with kids that come in here. And how quickly can we fast get them connected to Family Gateway or one of our other partners because they are experts in that. Again, we collaborate with all these agencies that are brilliant. That's part of the, connecting with intentionality. The collaboration between all these agencies in town is just beautiful.
It is.
We, as Carolyn said, put a circle around what we do and try to figure out how can we do that as best as we can for the glory of God. And then we recognize other agencies do stuff outside the circle better than we can, or they're more equipped than we can, and we're just going to hand the ball to them, right? Stupot does IDs,
they serve in
ID
very specific ways.
services and mail services, and we have partners all over that do things that are amazing. We don't want to replicate what they do. And we also do these 3 C's on the streets. We have our street outreach teams. We visit a couple of thousand locations a year in Dallas. We say Dallas County, but we actually bleed over in a couple of other counties around here because the homeless population is growing. I wish we had a ton more street outreach folks than we do. We have these green vans all over the city, and they're not bringing you a box of food so you can play Iron Chef behind a liquor store. They're there to love on you, care for you, ask you those questions, provide some emergency medical stuff, snacks and those kind of things, but really start to work on the process of, can we help you get off the street? Can we help you pause for a moment in the chaos and trust people and trust the Lord? And can we build a relationship with you personally and then invite you into a relationship with Christ? Because we think that's super important. So about our calling in general, we help people walk with Jesus.
Walk with Jesus and get off the streets.
And we help people get off the streets. And for churches and individuals that want to get involved, obviously we have the OurCalling app on the App Store. It's used all over the country. The Yelp of homelessness, where's a shelter, where's a domestic violence center, that kind of stuff.
And it allows people who see someone experiencing homelessness, you can report.
Yeah, in Dallas, if you see a tent in the woods, you can report it. Or we have people experiencing homelessness pulling out their phones, reporting themselves. I'm here, I need help, right? And so our teams respond to those. And we're trying to partner with other cities around the country to make those reports and data available to them. And then we have the little green book that people use. That's what you you can order them off our website,
Or
ourcalling.org/directory.
stop by and pick them up.
Stop by and pick them up, hang out for a while, take a tour, get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And that's what you give out to someone experiencing homelessness. It's the top 50 resource providers in the county. I like to say it's the solar-powered version of the app.
Yes.
And but churches that want to come partner with us, we need you to come serve.
Yeah.
And we need you to come volunteer. But not because we're desperate for you to be here. We desperately need someone to serve food or fold T-shirts. We want you to come serve because you were created to do it.
Yeah.
We were created by God to do good work. And we just want to invite people to come do good work. We want to invite people to come participate in what we're doing, to give towards loving their neighbors. So when your kid asks the question in the car, Mommy, there's a person out there. What can we do?
What do we
to be able
do?
to say,
Yeah.
let me tell you what we do.
Yeah.
We support an organization like Our Calling, or The Bridge, or Austin Street, or the Soup Pod, or Salvation Army, right? Support local organizations that are working their tail off every day to help people survive and thrive.
Yeah.
You know, for here, it's to help them walk with Jesus and get off these nasty streets.
Yep. True.
So that's our calling in a
That's
summary.
Our calling.